So we're going to go over step one again. You know what I mean? That we're powerless. That we need to believe in something greater than us. You know what I mean? We are not the end all be all. We're not in control like we think we are. I know. For me, I always thought that I was like the ruler of my own kingdom. You know what I mean? What I wanted everything to go my way. You know what I mean? I was selfish, self-centered. When things didn't go my way, I got mad. You know what I mean? I wanted people to do what I wanted them to do. You know what I mean? I wanted everything to go according to plan, and when it didn't go according to plan, I would get all upset and mad. Like I was in control of anything. You know what I mean? In my addiction, things never went as planned. But for some reason, I still thought that I had some type of control over this. You know what I mean? I thought that I was in control somehow, but I wasn't. I was totally out of control. This thing had me, it had me in the grip so bad that I couldn't see that it had control over me. You know what I mean? From afar. And now when I look back, I can see that I had no control at all. You know what I mean? But everything was about me. I wanted to do me. I wanted to use. You know what I mean? Dang the consequences. I didn't care about anybody or anything that I hurt, people, places, things. I didn't care. You know what I mean? I didn't care about my mother, my brother. I didn't care about myself. You know what I mean? That's most of all. Addiction. My parents met in rehab, which is it's funny. They met in rehab. They both went in for alcoholism. They had me and my brother. So our lives were kind of like crazy. You know what I mean? We kind of did what we wanted. They were at the bar all the time. You know what I mean? Like when I got in trouble at school, my school even knew to call the Frontier Saloon. That's where my dad was. That's how sad it was. Like the bartender, I remember going in there when I got a little bit older, and she'd be like, "Yeah, I remember the school would call down for your parents when they were here when you get in trouble in school." And I just like put my head down. Like she thought it was funny, but I was embarrassed. You know what I mean? It was embarrassing that the school knew that my parents were going to be at the bar. You know what I mean? Like they weren't at home, they're at the bar, and that's where they called when I got in trouble. So my upbringing was kind of, it was a mess. You know what I mean? The cops were always there. They cared more about alcohol than keeping the lights on, the bills paid. We didn't really, we always got hand-me-down stuff because we didn't have any money. We were bouncing all over the place, grandmother's, aunt's house, uncle's house. It was tough, you know what I mean? It was tough growing up like that. And plus it gave me the excuse to do what I wanted because my parents were either too drunk or just didn't care. You know what I mean? So I did what I wanted. I ran the streets. I got high. I got drunk. It started like really, I want to say like 14. You know what I mean? 14 years old. I had a get out of jail free card. I could do whatever I wanted. We partied in abandoned houses. We partied in the woods. I'd run from cops and all that stuff. I thought it was cool, and my parents let me do it. You know what I mean? It was acceptable. By the time I turned 16, it was okay to drink at the house as long as we stayed at the house. As long as we came together, we stayed at the house. It was cool. My dad would come upstairs and steal some liquor or beer off us once in a while. And he was cool. They were totally cool with it. When I got a little bit older, we threw like huge parties at the house. My mom would be drinking with us, and my dad would be drinking with us. It was nuts. But that's how I grew up. So I thought it was okay. You know what I mean, to drink and we didn't really do drugs, but I thought that it was okay to to drink and it was just accepted before you're of age to do it. You know what I mean? Later on, other stuff started coming into play. I got put on pain medicine. I already had an addictive personality. You know what I mean? I like to party. I like women. I like to go all out. I like to have fun. And when I got put on the pain medicine, like I felt like I found a part of myself because I never really fit in anywhere. I always felt like I was an outcast. Like even though, I'd be with a bunch of people, I felt like I was like by myself. You know what I mean? So I always had that feeling in me. And I think it's because when I did like a deep dive of myself, I think it's because my parents never really loved me, or they loved me from afar. They were always at the bar, they were doing them. So I didn't really have anybody to shepherd me or like, love me and stuff like that. So I always felt like less than, or I always was looking for like attention, or I would do stupid stuff to get people to, to like me, or at least I thought, I was like, please like me. Please, let me be a part of you. You know what I mean? Let me be a part of the group. But the dumb stuff that I did ended up getting me like ousted from the group. You know what I mean? Like I would do stupid stuff, stupid stunts. I thought it was funny and all this stuff, and I just wanted to be cool and fit in. But it ended up getting me further and further by myself. So, like I said, down the road when they put me on pain medicine, like I felt like that part of me that I always felt like I was missing, I felt like I found it. You know what I mean? I was like, this is how I was meant to feel. This is how I was always meant to feel, dude. Like, where was this feeling my entire life? You know what I mean? This is what I always wanted, and it was great. Like, I loved it. I loved the feeling. I chased it after it. They cut me off. I kept doctor shopping and buying pills off the street. It became a whole thing, dude. And as my addiction progressed, I just couldn't stop doing it. You know what I mean? I couldn't stop. It had its hooks in me. You know what I mean? And my life just kind of tumbled out of control, dude. Heroin came down the pike. All my nevers came true. You know what I mean? I'll never be homeless. I'll never not have a job. I'll never go to jail. You know what I mean? I'll never do this or that. I'll never rob anybody. I won't steal. You know what I mean? All that stuff that I told myself was all a lie, and I did every one of them, and then some. You know what I mean? And then some. There's stuff that I should be under the jail for. You know what I mean? But I just never got caught for it. It was. I was at the lowest point in my life. I remember my last run, and I felt like I was like a shell of a man. I was probably like 130 pounds. You know what I mean? I'm doing cocaine and heroin every single day, nonstop, getting money however I can. I didn't care where the money came from or who had it. I needed it. You're going to give it up. You know what I mean? That was my mindset. That was my attitude. And it got me in a lot of trouble. But my last run, I remember like I felt like it would be better if I didn't have the courage to kill myself. You know what I mean? I was just walking around Kensington, and I just wanted to die. You know what I mean? I wanted to die. I was praying that like somebody would just take me out. I remember one day I seen this car. Man, it was going like 90 miles an hour. It was a van, not a car. It's going like 90 miles an hour, and I'm standing right across the street. When you get off the L right there, you're walking down at the Walgreens. I'm across the street. I see this van doing like 90, and it hits these three dudes. I mean, just slams right into them. Hits them, they're dead. One dude goes flying, they're dead. And my first thought wasn't like, man, they need help or whatever, or they're dead, oh my God. It was like, man, I wish that was me. You know what I mean? I wish that van would have took me out and hit this side, not that side. You know what I mean? Because I hated myself so much, and I just didn't want to go any further. And drugs weren't killing me. Things weren't killing me. You know what I mean? But I wanted to die. I remember I was doing enough drugs to where it should have taken me out. There's no way that I should be here talking to you guys right now, but for some reason, I can't say for some reason. It's God. God kept me alive for a reason. You know what I mean? He kept me alive for a reason. I just didn't see it then. But I did enough stuff to kill anybody. You know what I mean? To kill probably 6 dudes at once. And I'm still walking. I couldn't fathom it. I remember one night I did this huge shot, dude, huge. And I'm like, this is going to take me out, man. And there was enough coke in there to kill anybody. And I'm living proof to tell the story. You know what I mean? But I really thought that was going to be it. Like I said, I didn't have the courage to kill myself. So I was hoping that the drugs would do it or somebody would do it for me. Because I was a coward. You know what I mean? I wanted it out, but I couldn't do it on my own. That I remember So I came down here to do something, rob a store or whatever I was doing, and I got arrested. Before I would be like, man, like I don't, I wish there was some way out of this, or I'm going to finagle my way out of this. I'm going to talk to them, talk to the judge. I'll be out of here in 2 days. You know what I mean? I'm always thinking like of a scheme or a scam to get out. But this time I was like, thank God. You know what I mean? Thank God that they finally got me, and they're going to put me away, and I'll, I can get off this stuff. And like I just put my hands up. Like I was like, this is it. You know what I mean? This is it. I felt relieved. Something in me like changed like that day. You know what I mean? And I remember to this day, I just knew that like this was it. You know what I mean? This was it, and I was totally relieved. Instead of trying to find a way or a scam or a scheme to get out, I was ready and willing, and I was okay with being locked up. You know what I mean? Like I was okay with it. I was like, fine, just I didn't even care about being with 20 dudes smashed into one little cell, waiting to get taken to the block. I didn't care about any of that. I remember I laid down and I went to sleep, and I was like at peace. You know what I mean? I was at peace with the fact that I was off the street, and like my run has come to an end. You know what I mean? And I just knew that I couldn't keep doing this. You know what I mean? This had to end. This had to stop. My way of doing things doesn't work. You know what I mean? I knew all this. So my next step was, they kept me in jail for a long time. I did almost 2 years in Delaware County that time, because I was running from I was on parole. I was running from parole, dipping and dodging and all this stuff. So they had enough of me. So they sat me down. They made me wait. You know what I mean? I waited a long time. I got hit with another charge, so I sat for county life. And then after that, they wanted me to go. No, they were going to release me to a hotel. They were like, we'll give you. There was this program you can sign up for. If you have nowhere to go, they'll send you to a hotel or whatever for, I think it's like 30, 60 days or something like that. And I remember telling them, she was like, fill out this paperwork. And I was like, listen, you send me to a hotel, like, I don't think, I'll be right back here. If I make it back here, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to work. I need to go to, I need to go recovery, you know what I mean? I need to go to rehab. I need to do something different. So I talked them into sending me to rehab. They sent me to rehab. Now, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to take a chance on me because I've been to so many. You know what I mean? I kind of burned them out. My parole officer was like, what's this rehab going to do for you that the others didn't? You know what I mean? So I had to tell him what I thought was different, and I just told him like, I just know that I can't do this anymore. And he was like, all right, that's good enough for me. You know what I mean? Because that's like the first time that I ever told him. I didn't make up some big glamorous Walt Disney story that I usually do. You know what I mean? It was just like, I just can't do this, dude. I just know I can't keep doing what I was doing. And he was like, all right, we can work with that. So they sent me to rehab, and then I came here. You know what I mean? And my biggest thing was that I knew that my way didn't work. You know what I mean? I knew I had a lot of stuff that was wrong with me. You know what I mean? And John seen it, and he was patient with me. You know what I mean? He worked with me, but I did a lot of stupid stuff. You know what I mean? I was grateful when I first got here, but then I start working, and all the things that we start seeing in guys that I see now started happening to me. You know what I mean? I start thinking like, well, I could do me. I bring me back in the equation. You know what I mean? It's not that. When I first got here, I was willing to do whatever it took to get sober. I was willing to do whatever it took to change. You know what I mean? If you told me to stand in the middle of the street with my hands up all day, I would have did it. But then I get a job, I get a few dollars in my pocket, I get a girl. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, you can't tell me nothing, dude. Can't tell me anything. You know what I mean? I'm going to do me. And it was brought to my attention quick, dude. Great, do you, just not here. You know what I mean? You could do you down the street, Paramount. You could do you, could do you down the street, MVP. You're not going to do you here. And I was reeled in real quick. He brought, he's like, your selfishness. You think that you don't have a problem. You know what I mean? But you do. It's not the girl. It's not the money. It's not the job. It's you. You know what I mean? It's you. And I had to take a look at that, you know what I mean? Because I always thought, like, if I got a good job, I got this, I got that. It was the accomplishments that I did that makes me a man, you know what I mean? No, it's not. It's how you act, you know what I mean? It's how you behave. It's your behaviors. These are the things that we need to work on. Our behaviors, our actions, what we do behind closed doors, how we act when somebody tells us, no, you can't do this. You know what I mean? I was the first one to be like, what, we can't do this, bro? You know what I mean? That was me. You know what I mean? But the way that you act when somebody tells you no, that's the real you. That's the real you. When somebody pulls your carpet and says you can't do this, let's see how you act. And that tells me a whole lot about your recovery and how much you're really working on. You know what I'm saying? I had to learn a lot of life lessons, man. You know what I mean? It took me a long time to grow up. And I'm hard on you guys because I want you guys to get this. You know what I mean? And it was done for me. It was done for me. They were hard on me. Heavy hand. You know what I mean? That's how I learned. That's how most of us have to learn. This whole baby thing, like I'm going to school for counseling, right? To get my addictions counseling, you have to go to school for you have to be an addictions counselor. You know what I mean? Not just counselor in addictions. So it's a whole other thing. But anyways, it's a lot of babying now. You know what I mean? We'll listen to what they have to say, rub their back. You know what I mean? I don't agree with any of that, dude. A lot of us need a heavy hand. I mean, we need a kick in the butt. You know what I mean? We be told, like, your way doesn't work. You know this. You know what I mean? You need to change, dude. It's your behaviors and your actions. There's a lot of... everything that we have done up to this point to get in these doors is the reason why we got in these doors. It's the reason why you're sitting here now. It's because everything that you have done was messed up. You know what I mean? The way that we were living is messed up. The way that we think is messed up. We have to be reprogrammed. We have to do something totally different. You know what I mean? What we would normally do. We have to learn, study. I had to read books. I had to study everything that I would do. So they told me to do NA or NA. Great, I'll go. I'll go to meetings. I'm not getting my hand up. I'm not sharing. I'm not going to get a sponsor. I'm not going to get a home group. I'm not doing the steps. They told me to come to church. You know what I mean? Great, I'll go to church. I'll sit in the seat, but I don't. I'm not. It's not me. I wasn't brought up that way. You know what I mean? So I had it was the hardest thing for me to believe in something greater than me. You know what I mean? But I would take all the advice in the world. I wouldn't put it to use. I still wanted to do me. I still wanted to cherry pick what was going to work for me and what wasn't. Like I knew. Like this mind is what got me in here. And I'm cherry picking what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. You know what I mean? That's not how you get sober, dude. If you really want to stay sober, you got to put your everything into this. You know what I mean? You got to strive every single day. You got to put your all into it. It's not like, I'll just sit back and stay sober. You know what I mean? That's not how this stuff works, dude. Especially early on. You really have to plug for this, dude. It's not something that's just going to come to you. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can get time in here easy because you're in a bubble. You're in a bubble. It's really easy to get sober in here. But once you get out these walls and you hit these streets, they're going to tear you up. I say this all the time. It's going to rip you guys apart. You know what I mean? You're going to end up right back in here or in rehab or dead because you worked on nothing while you were here and you thought that just staying sober, biding time. Like what if you're just biding time here, what are you doing? This was told to me too. If you're just going to bide your time in here and you don't want to do the things that we're telling you to do, then what are you doing here? Because you have nowhere to go? Because you don't have the money to move out? You know what I mean? You're taking a spot up for somebody who really wants it. You know what I mean? So why don't you just pack your bags and roll? These are the hard things that was told to me. This is why I changed. You know what I mean? I changed because a grown man had to tell a little boy how to live right. You know what I mean? I was a child. I didn't know how to live right. I didn't know what to do. I had to be instructed and told, man. There was a lot of life lessons, you know what I mean? A lot of life lessons that I didn't learn as a kid. You know what I mean? I didn't learn how to live right as a kid. I did whatever I wanted. I had nobody telling me no or you can't do this and all that other stuff. I had friends growing up. My parents were my friends. You know what I'm saying? My mom, to this day, I still got to keep her at bay because she's not a mom, she's a friend. You know what I mean? And she still drinks and does her thing, and that's cool. And I love her to death. You know what I mean? I love her. She did the best that she could, but I got to keep her at arm's length because I can't let her jeopardize what I got. You understand what I'm saying? Getting sober is easy, you know what I mean? But keeping it is hard. You know what I mean? Keeping it is hard. It's a daily, it's daily work. It's daily work, man. You got to really believe. So my biggest thing was, like I said, I didn't believe in anything. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up this way. Believing in God was not in my vocabulary. You know what I mean? I could talk to you about aliens all day long. You know what I mean? Aliens and other galaxies and stuff like that. I love that stuff, dude. I love talking about aliens and what if they're real and Area 51, and I'm all in. But we start talking about God and Jesus and all this stuff. I'm like, whoa, I wasn't used to that. You know what I mean? I wasn't used to it. So it took a long time, a lot of research and stuff like that, and a little bit of faith for me to come around and start believing in something greater than me. And it was one of the most important things that John instilled in me. Like I talked to you guys about earlier, is control. You know what I mean? We want to be in control. We want things to work out how we want them to work out. We're in our world. This is me. You know what I mean? I'm doing me, and everything's about me. But it's not. It can't be both ways. You understand what I'm saying? You can't not believe in something. You can't be the end all be all. You're not in control. You know what I mean? God is. God is in control of all this. You have to really pray and believe that there's something greater than you. You know what I mean? If you can't do that, I think that's what kept me stuck for a long time, was that I just couldn't believe. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe, and because I wouldn't take that step, I stayed stuck. You know what I mean? I stayed stuck. It's in the steps. It's in the Recovery Bible. You have to believe in something greater than yourself. You know what I mean? You have to. It can't be the room. It can't be the chair. You know what I mean? How bad? Some guys say that. Well, the room is. It's the people in the room. Man will always let you down, dude. I hate to tell you that. I hate when people say that. It's the room. It's the people, bro. When you're ready to use and you're on 1,000, you know what I mean? You're ready to go. There's no man is going to talk you down. No dude is going to step up and be like, no, don't do that. You're like, get out of my way, man. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to be able to stop you. It's going to be between you and God. He's the only one that's going to talk you off that cliff. And if you don't believe, then who's to stop you? You think you're going to stop yourself? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You got to believe in something greater than yourself, man. You have to. You know what I mean? If you can't put your faith in that, you're really going to stay stuck like I was and repeat this cycle. You know what I mean? You got to find something. It doesn't have to be what I believe in. Although I wish most of you guys, I wish you would, because I think it's the truth. But it's got to be something greater than you. It can't be the room. It can't be people. It can't be the chair. It can't be NA or all that stuff. It has to be a power greater than yourself. But it has to be. It has to be God. It has to be a God. I had like I said, it was a real struggle for me to believe in that. But I researched it. I looked into it, and I'm like, if I'm going to believe in something, it needs to be factual and something to back it up. And I couldn't disprove it, man. All the facts lined up and everything played out. The right way. And I thought, because I think I'm real smart, and I'm going to disprove this and, make these guys, I'm going to show these guys, like, this isn't real, you know what I mean? And I couldn't, dude. I couldn't. Like, everything that I looked into was real. There's archaeological evidence to back it up. What happened 2,000 years ago really happened. You know what I mean? Jesus really died for our sins. And this is what it is at the core, dude. It's a sin issue. You know what I mean? It's sin. You know what I mean? The world is stuck in sin. We want to do what we want to do. The selfishness, the pride, the ego, all that stuff, dude. It's all sin, and we're using other things instead of using God to set us free. We use other things. Like I told you, I was always chasing a feeling down. I felt like something was missing. Something was missing. You know what I mean? God was missing. I was trying to chase it with anything else. I was trying to chase people down or chase things down or drugs down to make me feel, more or a part of or whatever. And it was God was missing the whole time. That's what was missing. So once I stopped saying that, Matt knows everything, you know what I mean? It's when things started to change. I started believing something greater than me. I listened. So when people told me to do things, I did them. I didn't just do them halfway or Matt's way. I did them. You know what I mean? If people were like, "Listen, man, what you're doing is messed up," or you need to make meetings every day. You know what I mean? I made meetings every day. They told me to go through this book, read this book, do this, get a spot. I did it. You know what I mean? I did everything to the T. And this is why I made it so far. Is because I just knew that my way didn't work, dude. And something had to change. You know what I mean? Something had to be different this time. It couldn't be Matt's way anymore. Matt's way is what got me into this. You know what I mean? Picking what I was going to do and what was going to work for me is what got me in this seat in the first place. You know what I mean? So I listened to guys that had a lot of time, guys that were doing it right. You know what I mean? Living for the Lord, living God's way. You know what I mean? Guys that were walking this thing out. You know what I mean? And it's not easy, dude. It's not easy, and nothing's going to be perfect. And we think that, life like is going to magically be great, and it might be for them first little couple months. You know what I mean? They call it being on a pink cloud. You ever heard that? Being on a pink cloud. So everything's great at first. You're great. You're happy to be sober. You're thankful. You're just thankful to be inside and have a place to go. You know what I mean? I know I was. I was like, thank God that I have this. Thank God. But that goes out the window really quick. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, I'm complaining about this and complaining about that, and this place sucks, dude. You know what I mean? And all this other stuff. Matt starts creeping back in, dude, little by little by little. I start letting him in. And next thing you know, all my gratefulness goes out the window, and I'm doing nothing but complain and picking things out about different people. Look at him. Look at him. Look at the way he thinks he's something. Look at him. You know what I mean? That's me creeping in, dude, little by little by little. That's what I'm saying. You got to work on this thing daily, man. It's a daily reprieve. It's daily. You know what I mean? We got to work on this because we start creeping back in. We start, our old self slowly come out. You know what I mean? And we start thinking that we got this, and I had to run my head into the wall over and over and over and over and over and over and over, until I got this. And I wish I could touch all you guys and let you guys get it, you know what I mean, and give it to you. And there is some in here that are doing their thing, dude. There's some that are doing their thing. They go to meetings every day. I drop by the meetings. I see them in there, you know what I mean. I see them doing their thing, that's what's great about doing this job is when you see guys start to change and start to do something different. You know what I mean. They start to grow. They start giving back. You see them helping out, stuff like that. But then it's heartbreaking when you see a guy take their will back. You know what I mean, and say that I got this now, or you start seeing that old self start creeping back in, dude. It's the little things, man. Like somebody used to say, it's the little things, dude, that'll take you out of here. You know what I mean? It's the little things. It's not easy. Everything, once that pink cloud wears off, it starts, it's exciting in the beginning, but it starts getting hard. You know what I mean? And as the further that you grow, and the more that we want, because we're like, I want this, I want that, I want to do this, I want to do that. It all comes with responsibilities. You know what I'm saying? Responsibilities, the more time you get, the more responsibilities you have, the more stress you have, you know what I mean? The more things get hard. That's why you need to keep working on you, dude, because life starts getting tough. You know what I mean? Life starts getting tough. things start happening, and if you don't know how to handle it, you know what I mean, it can easily take you back out. But that pink cloud stuff wears off. You know what I mean. You gotta daily work on you. It's not easy. Life is hard. You know what I mean. Life is hard. So, you know, as time goes on, you really gotta want this. You know what I mean. It's easy in here, is all I can say. Once you get out there, you know what I mean. It's going to be tough on you. If you didn't work on anything in here, once you get out there, it's going to be tough. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough, especially if you don't have a support network. That's one of the other things. So believe in something greater than you, knowing that your way doesn't work, and getting that support network. You know what I mean? Having people that have your back, having people that are going to check up on you, ask how you're doing. You know, all that stuff's important, because if you're alone, that you know, my thoughts got me into this. What makes me think that, like, me being alone and just doing whatever, you know, whatever is going to get me out of it? You know what I mean? I run things past people. People check up on me all the time. You know what I mean? I sit down. You know, I see a therapist. Not as much as I used to, but like twice a year. You know what I mean? Where I go there and I tell them everything, and they're like, "Yeah, I think you're crazy, dude." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Thanks. I'll see." You know, but it's important to have to have a support network and have things that you can, you know, you can check into and let, you know, people can see how you're doing and let you know, like, "Hey, man, that's crazy what what you want to do," or whatever. You know, I had to get a lot of advice. Like I said, I wasn't taught anything when I was a kid, so I had to get a lot of stuff, you know, was given to me. You know what I mean? John was, I used to sit back and pick his brain, man. Like, what do you think, you know, about financing and credit and all this stuff? You know what I mean? All this stuff that I wanted to work on that I didn't know anything about. You know what I mean? Banking, credit. You know, I had really good jobs, and I would do things, but I never had like bank accounts or anything. I would spend, you know, I get a check, I'd spend every dime of it, you know what I mean, and start back up, and then figure, you know, I'm like, well, how am I gonna, you know, make it till next payday? You know what I mean? This I just remember doing that over and over and over again. You know, I never saved any money. I didn't know anything about 401. You know, I remember I got 401ks, but I didn't know anything about them. You know what I mean? I just, you know, I went to work. I was high all the time. And then that ended. Then I'm on the streets getting high all the time. You know what I mean? So the point is, I didn't know anything about real life. You know what I mean? I didn't know anything about real life. It's a lot of stuff that I had to work on. A lot of stuff that comes with life. You know what I mean? Credit cards, bank accounts, how to pay bills on time. You know what I mean? Being responsible. You know, all these things that I didn't know anything about. You know, life isn't easy, is my point. Life isn't easy. You know what I mean? You gotta work on you. If you don't work on you, when these things pop up, it's so easy to just roll out. You know what I mean? Roll out and say, you know, I can't deal with this or whatever. People will take you out too. You know what I mean? You got to be careful. People will take you out. Who you let in, your inner circle. You know, you might think that you're a best friend or that you're in love or whatever, and the next thing you know, they're taking you out the door. You know what I mean? So you got to be very careful about who you pick and let in to your circle. You know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to all succeed. You know what I mean? I want good things for all of you guys. I really do. I know I'm hard on you guys, but somebody was hard on me. You know what I mean? Somebody was hard on me, and that's how I learned. You know what I mean? So this is how I did it. This is how I stayed clean. You know what I mean? And you know, it was done for me. So, you know, it took a heavy hand to wake me up. You know what I mean? Because I was real good at finagling and doing things my way and talking my way out of stuff and, you know, getting by doing this, you know, the bare minimum. You know what I mean? I was really good at all that stuff. So, you know, it took somebody to really like, dude, I know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly who you are. You know what I mean? You're not going to talk your way out of this. Like, I know all about you. Why? Because I am you. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right, dude, this dude knows what's up. I can't, you know, I can't skate around him. You know what I mean? And, you know, so I grew from there, man. And, you know, I just knew that my way didn't work, and I was willing to do whatever, you know, to stay sober this time around. And I remember what it was like coming in here. You know what I mean? I remember how broken and beat up and fragile I was when I, you know, when I got locked up that last time. I remember to this day, you know what I mean? So that can also take you far. Remember what it was like. Don't forget. You know what I mean? It's really easy for us to forget how messed up it was. You know, we start building up this fantasy in our minds about how it wasn't that bad. I don't really have a problem. You know what I mean? I really don't, need to do that or work on it. I'm good. And it's the farthest thing from the truth, man. I mean, if we were good, we wouldn't be sitting here. You know what I mean? We wouldn't be in this program if we were good. Normal people that are good don't say, you know what, I think I'm going to take a vacation at Greenhouse. You know what I mean? I think I'm just going to go chill there for a little bit and, see what's going on. Like, normal people don't do that. You know what I mean? You've got to be messed up to come in here. So I really want the best for all you guys. I mean, I love all y'all. If you ever need me or have any questions or whatever, pull me aside. I know I get busy and sometimes I look angry and mad, and that's because I probably am. You know what I mean? But I do love all you guys, and it is stressful. On me. It's a stressful job. But I'm glad I do it, and I couldn't ask for a better job, and I love being here with you guys. So. Let me, you got something to share, John?
No, I'm playing with you, man. I'm playing with you.
Okay.
I actually did.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
All right, earlier, I just want to apologize to the Greenhouse, to Matt, to Pastor Ryan, to Pastor John. I was screaming on the phone. I was having an argument. I was walking up and down the street. I was cursing, and I just want to apologize to everybody here. If you heard me, if you didn't hear me, like I said, I apologize. I let my anger get the best of me, and after hearing what Matt said tonight, it meant a lot because I actually see a lot of that whole story myself. I've been through a lot of them situations, and I almost let my old self come back in. And
Yep. Little by little, man, it'll take over.
And after hearing that, I apologize, Matt. I also had some words with you in the house, and I apologize about that. Like I said, I almost let my anger get the best of me, and I'm very grateful to be here. And I thank God that I'm here. And Matt, it was you who reached out to me and gave me the opportunity to come here, along with Pastor Ryan. So I apologize to the community and each and every one of you guys here.
Amen, brother. Amen. That's huge, man. It's huge. It takes a big man to admit our faults. As they say, we can't receive forgiveness. God, we have to repent. You know what I mean? Repent for what we have done, to receive, His forgiveness, or and that goes in life as too. It's general. You know what I mean? We can't change until we admit fault. You know what I mean? If somebody wants to change, I can work with them all day long. You know what I mean? But if you don't want to change, you don't see the problem. These are the things that we can't. You know what I mean? How can you work with somebody who doesn't see the problem if you're explaining it to them? You know what I mean? Sometimes they got to, and that was me. You got to run your head in the wall a few more times until you start seeing, you're the problem. You know what I mean? So
visit our website, ghproject.org, and you can donate at ghproject.org/donate. Like and follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And you can email us at info@ghproject.org. Thanks for watching.